Hello, my name is Jalamar Martinez, and I am a biology secondary education major. I grew up in Lancaster City, Pennsylvania, and I went to J.P. McCaskey High School. So, one characteristic of me and my schooling is that I was a very shy and quiet person. I didn't have a lot of connections with my peers, and part of that stems from the fact that I was bullied throughout middle school and high school. It was a pretty rough time. However, that didn't stop me from my second characteristic, which is that in my adolescence is when I made some of my closest and lifelong relationships and friendships. So, throughout every year of school, I always had someone that I could go to and rely on and just kind of grow with together. My third characteristic of my adolescence is that I was a very serious and studious person. So I thrived on getting the best grades that I could. And part of that, a lot of it, was because I was very performance oriented. So I put my worth as a person in my grades, which is pretty unhealthy. However, as I continued on my years of schooling, I was able to turn that performance orientation into a learning orientation, especially with my science classes. I loved and I wanted to learn about how the world around me worked, which is part of the reason why I'm so passionate about science. But that learning orientation I carried with me throughout the rest of my years of schooling. So, one field experience that I really would love to remember, that I need to remember, is when me and my mentor teacher were discussing a student. This student has a tendency to do what the book calls call response. So, when a teacher or a student is talking, he interjects with his opinions and his ideas. This student is Hispanic. And I am Hispanic, my teacher is Hispanic. In Hispanic culture, call response is seen as something that is good. It shows that you're attentive to the listener and it's rewarded. I see it myself within my own family. However, that student is not always the most appropriate in typical classrooms. So, what my teacher did, instead of writing him a referral right away, like some teachers might have, instead she pulled him aside after class and talked to him about it. And we've been trying to think of more ways how we can incorporate call response because we have a lot of Hispanic students into our lessons and kind of plan that in. So, this is a part of cultural responsiveness where we have to be aware of and in tune with our students' needs so we can best help them. Because it's not right to punish them for something that is normal in their own culture and is rewarded because that sends some mixed messages and can cause hostility. A second field experience that I really want to remember is when it relates to a student who I'd built a relationship with because we were talking about her drawings in her sketchbook that she always has. But I noticed one day that she was talking to her friend and she mentioned something like, I don't want to live anymore. I want to die. And we were doing a lab and she just kind of jokingly mentioned, like, I wonder if X, Y, or Z chemical would kill me. And so I paid attention to her the rest of the class, along with the rest of the class, trying to keep aware of everybody and everything that was happening. And I told my teacher about it right after the class ended. I pulled her aside and mentioned that. My teacher emailed the guidance counselor of that student, and the guidance counselor sent back an email saying thank you for being aware and for mentioning this because it's one of those signs that we have to pay attention to. And that student has been struggling a lot with her mental health recently. So that just taught me how it's really important to be aware of our students. And to be aware of them, we have to know them and we have to figure out and know when it's right to step in or step back and talk to someone else about it, like how I talked to my mentor teacher and she talked to the guidance counselor. So, one question that I have is a question of time, and this relates to my classroom management spectrum. So, I believe that at this moment in time, I'm very rewards and routine focused. I thrive on routine. I love routine. It really helps me stay structured. However, I don't quite like the rewards aspect because I don't want my students to be extrinsically motivated like I was with grades. I want them to be intrinsically motivated like I learned to be. And one way to do that is to shift towards the engagement focus. So that's what I really want to do as a teacher. But my question is time. How do we have time, especially in like a biology where it's a keystone class, where we have so much content to get through and so much for them to learn? How do we have time to go to that engagement and go really deep into what these students like so that we can engage them the best. Yeah, those are all my thoughts. Thank you very much for listening and have a great day.